Imagine this. Close your eyes and picture a moment that will be remembered for generations. A day when everything changes. Not with chaos, but with calm. It's a scorching Monday morning across India. The air shimmers with heat, and the city streets are buzzing with the usual anticipation of exam season. Millions of students, dressed in crisp uniforms, are supposed to be sitting for their exams, clutching admit cards and sharpened pencils, hearts pounding with nerves. But something extraordinary happens. Nothing. Exam halls, usually filled with anxious whispers and scribbling pens, are eerily empty. Students everywhere have dropped their pens in a silent, coordinated act of defiance. The sound of pens hitting desks echoes through empty corridors. It's a nationwide boycott. No protests, no slogans, just a deafening silence that speaks louder than any chant ever could. Principals stare at vacant desks, invigilators are baffled, and unopened question papers pile up, untouched and irrelevant. News channels erupt. India's students boycott exams. The story flashes across every screen, sparking debates and disbelief. This isn't a small protest. It's a tidal wave of unity, a movement that sweeps across cities, towns, and villages alike. It's a complete, unified refusal to participate in the system. Students walk away, heads held high, refusing to be part of a broken game. Over 250 million students, acting as one, have stopped playing a game they believe is rigged. The government is blindsided, caught completely off guard. Parents are stunned, calling their children in disbelief, trying to understand how such a massive movement could happen so quietly. But the students are united, making a statement, loud and clear. The system is broken, and they won't be its cogs anymore. Their solidarity is unshakable. Authorities threaten disciplinary action, but how do you punish an entire generation? The usual tools of control suddenly seem useless. Grades, degrees, and the fear of failure, suddenly powerless. The old rules no longer apply when no one is willing to play by them. The day the pens dropped becomes a historic turning point, a symbol of courage and collective will. The youth of India have decided enough is enough. Their silence has become the loudest cry for change the country has ever heard. Why would millions of students who have spent years preparing suddenly walk away from their exams? The very tests that are supposed to be their ticket to a brighter future and the traditional path to success. For years, relentless pressure, endless rote learning and unforgiving competition have transformed education into a joyless, exhausting race. The mental health crises, stress, anxiety, and even tragedy have been swept under the rug, ignored by those in power for far too long. Students are exhausted from being reduced to mere numbers, judged by outdated curricula and rigid systems that fail to prepare them for the realities of the modern world. They look ahead and see a future filled with uncertainty, unemployability, and broken promises, dreams that seem increasingly out of reach. Previous protests and pleas for reform were dismissed. This boycott is not just an act of defiance, but a desperate, unified cry for meaningful change. These students aren't lazy or apathetic. They're fighting for their own self-preservation, for a system that values creativity, mental health, and genuine learning. The silence echoing through empty exam halls is their final powerful argument. A call for a future where education truly empowers. The aftermath, chaos, the academic calendar collapses. Schools and universities are paralyzed. How do you promote students or admit them to colleges without exam results? Parents are thrown into turmoil, some furious, others quietly relieved. The government scrambles, rescheduling exams and issuing threats, but the boycott holds. Emergency meetings erupt, the media goes into overdrive. International universities panic. How do they admit Indian students now? The great Indian exam boycott becomes a global symbol of a generation's revolt. The economic shock is immediate. The coaching industry, worth billions, collapses overnight. Kota's coaching centers, textbook publishers, and small stationery shops face ruin. The entire exam ecosystem crumbles, affecting millions of livelihoods. Companies relying on campus placements are left without candidates, forced to rethink hiring. The dream of India's demographic dividend is shaken. A vacuum of certified graduates threatens growth. Investors get nervous. The economy trembles. The boycott exposes how deeply exams are woven into India's economic fabric. Amid the chaos and uncertainty, a new possibility emerges on the horizon. The world is changing rapidly, and so must the way we learn and grow. With the old system broken, education must reinvent itself, shifting from rote memorization to real understanding and skills. Learning becomes an active journey, not just a passive process. Classrooms could become spaces for collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking, where students learn to solve real-world problems together. Teachers become mentors and guides. Students explore their passions, and innovation flourishes in every corner of the classroom. Success is redefined, not by marks or standardized tests, but by skills, portfolios, and real contributions that matter in the world. Resistance is inevitable, but new ways of certifying and hiring will emerge, valuing what students can actually do, not just what they can memorize. Parents, educators, and employers must shift from trusting paper degrees to trusting abilities, experiences, and demonstrated talents. The boycott, born of frustration and hope, could spark a more humane, relevant education system for everyone. By refusing to play the old game, students force everyone, schools, families, and society, to imagine a better one and to finally make it real.